I was chewing the meat until I noticed the tiny bone that looked like a human finger. That moment changed everything. Auntie Coco moved into our compound about 6 months ago. She was big, really big, and had this wide, welcoming smile that made everyone like her instantly. She always laughed loudly and called everyone my child or my brother. If you had a problem, she was the first to help. But what really made everyone love her was her cooking. Every week, she'd bring a big pot of food to share with the compound. Jollof rice, egusi soup, pepper soup, she made it all. And her meat. It was always the best. Tender, juicy, and full of flavor. People joked that she must have some secret seasoning no one else knew. She made us feel lucky to have her as a neighbor. Then the children started dying. It began with little Chuka. He was just 5 years old. One evening, he went out to play, and no one saw him again. His mother searched everywhere, crying and calling his name, but it was like he vanished into thin air. People said maybe he wandered off and got lost. A week later, it was Amina. Then Bola. The strange thing was how the bodies were never found. Just gone. The police came, asked questions, searched the area, but nothing ever turned up. And every time a child went missing, Auntie Coco would be there, comforting the parents, cooking them food, telling them to be strong. The compound grew quieter. Parents stopped letting their kids play outside. Some people started whispering that it was juju, that someone was using the children for rituals. But no one dared say more than that. One night, Auntie Coco knocked on our door with her usual pot of food. "I cooked pepper soup for everyone," she said, smiling as she handed it to me. My mom wasn't home, so I took it and thanked her. The smell was incredible. I couldn't wait and started eating right there in the kitchen. The meat was so tender, it melted in my mouth. I was halfway through the bowl when I found it, the tiny bone. At first, I thought it was nothing, but as I held it up to the light, it didn't look like a chicken bone. It was too small, too human. My stomach twisted. I dropped the bowl and ran outside to the backyard, vomiting everything I'd eaten. That night, I couldn't sleep. The idea kept creeping into my head. What if the meat wasn't from an animal? What if it was from the children? I told my mom the next day, but she laughed it off. "Stop talking nonsense," she said. "Auntie Coco is too kind for such evil." But I couldn't shake the feeling. I started watching her closely. She was always so cheerful, so helpful, but there were moments, small moments, when her smile would falter. Like when someone mentioned the missing children, and for just a second, her eyes would dart away. One night, I saw her leave her room with a large sack. She was dragging it behind her, and it looked heavy. I followed her, keeping a safe distance, my heart pounding. She went to the back of the compound, where there was an old shed no one used anymore. I waited until she left before sneaking inside. The smell hit me first, rotten and sickly sweet. My eyes adjusted to the darkness, and that's when I saw it, bones. Small bones. Human bones. There were knives on the table, stained with something dark. And in the corner, a pile of clothes, children's clothes. I recognized Bola's blue dress. My legs nearly gave out. I ran back to the house, my chest tight with fear. I wanted to scream, to tell everyone, but who would believe me? Auntie Coco was loved by everyone. She was the one who comforted grieving parents, who fed the hungry, who made us laugh even when things were hard. But now I knew the truth. The next morning, I told my best friend, Connor, about what I saw. He didn't believe me at first, but I convinced him to come with me that night. We snuck back into the shed, and this time, we brought a torch. What we found was worse than I imagined. There was a pot on the stove, still warm. Inside were chunks of meat, bubbling in a dark, spicy broth. And next to it, on the counter, was a small, severed hand. Connor vomited on the spot. We ran out, straight to the landlord's house. It took a while to convince him to come see, but when he did, his face turned pale. He called the police immediately. When they came, they arrested Auntie Coco. At first, she denied everything, but when they searched her room, they found more bones, more clothes, and even photos of the missing children. She had been taking pictures of them before killing them. The whole compound was in shock. People cried, screamed, cursed her name. Auntie Coco never showed any remorse. As they took her away, she looked at me and smiled that same wide, friendly smile. "You'll miss my cooking," she said. To this day, I can't eat meat without thinking about that smile.